Are we ready, clocks?
I've got to do the news!
How much time? 30? 30 seconds? I'm on right now. I don't believe you. What?
How are you all brewing out there, people, on the information superhighway? Welcome to the Brews at 10. On my left eye, I'm your humble host, Lefty. Thanks for joining us this evening. You're all very welcome here. Big Jerry was first in the chats. Good evening. Emma Richardson, following shortly behind. Nice to see you as well. Mobius, also with us, and we have a Doc in the house. Doc Davies. Check out Mo's channel as well. Great little gardening channel for the green-fingered community out there. Speaking of green fingers and nature, plenty of that to come on tonight's stream. Of course, the heat wave continues, as does the climate crisis. Let's start off in a cheery fashion, cheery, chirpy fashion. No, actually, it will be a bit of a roller coaster ride. At least, that's the way we've tried to schedule it this evening. Emotional highs and lows. Laughs and doom. But that's the world. Do hit thumbs up if you just join us on stream as well, please, people. So yes, another very important date in the political calendar coming up tomorrow. For two reasons, actually. I'll be doing a plug for one of those a bit further down the stream. The second of which, actually, of course, concerns where this live stream is coming to you from this evening. Manchester, United Kingdom. The mayoral elections take place, so the final hot seats pre-election for Manchester. Things are certainly heating up. Or hotting up, as they say in the States. And we've got heat and fire in the chat as well. Yeah, Europe's on fire. The Cairngorms are on fire. The seats are on fire. There's a very combustible theme as well. There's a sort in the subtext, the very subtle subtext of this evening's stream. But I do know you dear viewers are also concerned about the climate crisis. So let's hope for a green victory in Manchester first of all. That would be fantastic. And yeah, solidarity with everybody up in Scotland if you're close to where those fires are taking place. Hope everybody's safe, as well as our European viewers. Solidarity. Sorry, what's the Spanish? It'll come to me in a moment. Bit rusty. So we're going to take a look at 4 billion dead again. Basically a recap of what we saw last time, as well as hear from Roger Hallam, who was on the Zoom. Anybody who was on the last live stream, I was on a Zoom with Bill McGuire and Roger, not as a guest. I mean, I was watching. I was invited to watch one. The discussion was this new organisation, 4 billion dead. There's a link in the description if you want to check out the full vid later, but we're just going to go over what it's all about off the back of some particularly worrying revelations within, and almost buried deep within, almost as if nobody wants to sort of acknowledge them and hopes nobody will see them, but deep within, believe it or not, an insurance report on climate change. Some more on that to come. Eddie's just jumped in the chat as well. Nice to see you as always, brother. Solidari-Tea. We've got a fantastic audience in the chat already. We're just a few minutes in. This is great stuff. Great to see you all. Speaking of quality viewers, a lot of members in the chat, and this is the full roster of members, the very latest list. So this is hot as well. It's all hot tonight. 113 members now towards the target of 250, so thank you very much everybody for renewing your memberships when that time comes around every month, and also for gifting to others as well. Just while I've got the stall set up, remind you that Super Chat is open if you're watching live, as well as Super Stickers, live or before the broadcast ends. And if you're catching up later on, there is Super Thanks. And there's the Buy Me a Coffee page for anybody who's unable to contribute via YouTube or just prefers to contribute that way. You'll find the link for the Buy Me a Coffee page in the description of any content on the channel. Thank you again, members. Thank you again, everybody, whoever you choose to support us. You're a great bunch.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
So as I said, a kind of roller coaster emotional theme this evening. In fact, there will not be an opening comedy clip. That's going to be sort of wedged partway through as a segment of said emotional roller coaster. But unlike conventional ones, usually that is, it will be downs first and then ups. Because we're going to start with Burnham, who's been pretty poor in the week or so he's been Prime Minister. I did want to put more into the title of the stream, but there's only so many characters. And I didn't want to, of course, before we get started on this one, admit that the comedy section I was just talking about will in fact be some homegrown comedy, or an effort. Yes, the latest Pat McFadden Experience episode. In fact, I will invite you viewers. I'm sure that a few of you are familiar with the feature already. Those who are, even if you're not, let me know who you think this episode's guest might be. Anybody who doesn't know, it's kind of a parody with top quality. We really have hired top quality impersonators for this one. The production values as well are through the roof. No expense spared, as always. But no, who do you think the guest is going to be? Who's Pat McFadden going to be interviewing on his little show? Shall not reveal until it's played. So yes, just back to the start, I guess. We'll kick off with Burnham. I'm going to do a quick article scroll first, actually. Usually like to start off with a video, but yeah, just want to get this Burnham crap out the way, to be honest. Because considering it's parliamentary recess, he sure is making a lot of promises that they're busy working on stuff. Yes, I'm sure they are. And it's mostly education and welfare that's been coming up in the last sort of 24 hours-ish. Andy Burnham wants to get, apparently, he says, more younger people into apprenticeships. Why do plumbers need to read Charles Dickens or whatever? And also, where cuts to welfare are concerned, this is being very tarted up, thinly veiled, that is, as fixing, air quotes, fixing of social care. Now, he has said some pretty bold things on this, I'll concede, but he does say a lot of big things about a lot of different things. What he actually does, whether he follows through with these apparent ambitions, still remains to be seen. But within social care, he's said things like moving away from the private sector. Overall point being, he's saying a lot of things that are music to a lot of people's ears. But we did say that he would do just that. But bearing in mind we have our reservations. Perhaps a bit more than reservations, if you know what I mean. We think he's full of crap. But no, we have serious doubts that will follow upon many of the promises he's making. Let's just quickly see what's going on. Because he hasn't ruled out tax rises. This is what the BBC article here is all about. And don't worry, the multimillionaires and billionaires won't be sweating. Let's just put it that way. That means tax rises for who? That's for me, and that's for you. That's who. But he said it was a major dereliction of public duty that successive governments had failed to address the crisis, adding there would be... Here we are. Didn't take long, did it? Didn't take long. Difficult decisions. You can mark him. Oh, not got the bell on this particular scene in the broadcast software. But ding, ding, ding. Difficult decisions. There it is. Didn't take very long at all, did it? Stop the clocks. What is it, a week? A week and 2 days. 9 days, if you prefer. And we all know what that actually means. More taxes for us, more cuts. But he's also been describing people who are in situations where they're forced to sell their homes to pay for elderly people in care. And of course, there's a lot of private money in the care sector at the moment, as there is in general health. That's a problem within itself, of course. The incentives are just completely the opposite of what they should be. With the recipients of said services, the same with healthcare, being treated as customers, not patients, ergo, from the private healthcare point of view, more sick people is good, because that means more customers. That's the way they see it through this distorted lens that they have. But my left eye sees the truth, and it's certainly very far from the way that private healthcare companies might see it. Now, whilst he's been prepping us for this information as well, apparently, unelected Andy Burnham, who technically doesn't have a mandate, not that I want to sound like Farage or anything like that, because he's brought it up as well, but legitimately, no, he's unelected, and to show us that he really is going to move away from the neoliberalism that's been so entrenched within British politics for the last, 47 years, if you want to count 79, the Thatcher era, as the baseline for that one, which many people do, of course. Then why in the bloody hell is he having talks with Kemi Badenoch and Sir Ed Davey? So yeah, we're definitely moving away from neoliberalism, and he's trying to give a sort of sense of willingness for cross-party cooperation and this sort of thing for optics. But look who he's talking to. Do you really think that Kemi Badenoch is going to give advice that would benefit the general public? Do you really think that Kemi Badenoch is not just going to point to a lot of people who she would consider scroungers, who rely on benefits for, in a lot of cases, the most basic things in life? And of course, Ed Davey, all bright and chirpy on the outside, but we know what liberals, that is liberals in the British sense, of course, are really like. When it comes to the crunch, when the chips are down, they'll always side with the right, as will any other neoliberal or anybody who describes themselves as a centrist or moderate, because that's just a centre-right person's way of pretending to be on the left. Yeah, we all know that one. So it's not a good strategy, really, is it? And apparently they've been helping him set out the so-called red lines around funding. So unelected Andy Burnham, without a mandate, speaks to Kemi Badenoch, who represents a party that suffered an absolute walloping at the last general and local elections as well. For advice, you could argue that they have even less of a mandate than Andy Burnham has. He is at least riding off the back of Keir Starmer, of course. Whether you agree with it or not, people did vote for Keir Starmer. He was elected as Prime Minister, getting over the line in the first past the post system. It's a shitty system, but that's an unignorable fact. So the strength of the mandate gets weaker and weaker, further diluted as he sets out on this endeavour. And he has refused to speak to, I say refused, he just didn't invite them, as you can see there, either Reform or the Green Party of England and Wales, of course. So this just reminds us of these sort of thresholds in this. Unlike the NHS, social care is not free at the point of use. In England and Northern Ireland, people with savings worth more than, and this is a very specific amount, £23,250 are not. So if you have £23,249, you're in. But a pound or two more, that's it, you're out. Those, yeah. I think things like that are very unfair. But that's another topic. So, 23 and a quarter grand are not entitled to care costs from the council. But of course, £23,250 is not an amount of money that you can retire off, that you can live off. If you live in London, that would probably not even do you 2 years of rent. That's if you don't do or eat anything, or have any lights on, or use any electricity. It's gone very quiet in the background, Phil. Thank you. In Wales and Scotland, different rules apply in terms of eligibility. Wales and Scotland, again, seeming to have their heads screwed on better than we do in England, or at least our so-called elected representatives, which you can't count Andy Burnham in. Will he perhaps, I was going to say one day, but maybe even soon, become less relevant than the likes of other unelected prime ministers, let's say in a generation or two's time? Of course, anyone who gets into politics or whatever, studying and whatnot, will come across names like Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss, James Callaghan, and now Andy Burnham. And of course, Winston Churchill. Just have a quick check if there's anything else of substance in here with a very quick skim read. Let's see what Ellie Chones said, obviously, about the lack of invitation to the Green Party. Ellie Chones said, if Andy Burnham is serious about doing things differently and tackling the crisis in care, he must work collaboratively with the Greens and other parties to do so. Yeah, that's another possibility as well. The fact that he's only speaking to the Tories and Lib Dem. Now, let's say that, and I'll also admit that in a couple of polls, Labour have now drawn level with Reform in this honeymoon period. But should he not really have the grapes to get over the line at the next general election, you might be looking at some sort of coalition. So maybe that's an early hint that should that be the case, and he needs the votes of the Tories or Lib Dem to get over the line, that could be where we find ourselves in 29. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Yeah, that might be something to consider. That's a long way off though. Clearly, Reform and the Greens are the two biggest threats at the moment. Reform here and now in 2026, but come the next general election, the Greens could be even more of a threat, of course, with trends being as they are, as we've talked about quite a bit. The Greens still on the rise. I'll leave that one there. Just check out some of your comments in the chat. Sorry, that's the thing with reading out articles. I can never keep up with the chat. See what you're saying, people. Shout out for Count Binface as the guest on Pat McFadden, or is that just a general shout out for Count Binface? Whether it is or not, yeah. We got Binface stuff coming up. Sure. We might have a second memes gallery part 2 in the works. Well, we do actually. Yeah, I've got some great new memes as well. Just waiting for a few more. And Adam Gordon's just joined us in the chat as well. Yeah, not a lot of trust for Burnham as well, as I'm seeing. I'm going out to the party, people. Good evening. Welcome to the party. Ogum the Bold's also with us, Nina Sadie. Rock, yeah! Nice to see you all. Quite correct. Rock, yeah. Private healthcare will make a lot of money out of property and pensions owned by those dying people. Yeah. There's, sort of fiscally speaking, a huge shift happening at the moment, generationally, where things like inheritance of money, property, this kind of thing are concerned, how people are financing their retirements, financing their care. Also at the other end of the spectrum, a record amount of people in the 20s are now still living with the parents, with as many as, I think it was some around 40% still between a third and 40% still living with parents at the age of 25. So there are some generational changes. Where shall we go to next? Ah, yes, of course, of course. Like I said, we'll try and raise our spirits a bit more now. I didn't actually mention this at the top of the stream. But with regards to the Zach Polanski t-shirt Ferrari, or t-shirt gate, as has been happening in the last 24 hours. We're going to do this in the form of a My Left Eye Investigates. My Left Private Eye, I should say. A sporadic feature, actually, that's not been on for a while. But now that Keith's gone, a lot of the other features are getting a bit more time. So let's see what's happening. Yeah, because this is all very farcical, really. And luckily, Nigel Farage and some of the mainstream media have ended up with egg on the chin But Farage is used to having a milkshake on his chin, but it's a different situation. So yeah, let's see what's happening. My left private eye. Here we go. That's the feature story. Well, I'll do the intro anyway. Let's rip the lid off of it.
It's time to rip the lid off of it!
One more question, sir. About those sacks of gold.
And the 5 million quid.
Oh wow, a police chase!
Coming in! Open this door!
Nice dissolve. Yeah, let's investigate. Let's see what's happening here, people. Hope you've all got your Macs on and your magnifying glasses. Let's see what's happening. I'll just fill you in on a bit of background detail. Obviously, for anyone who's not from the UK, you might not know what's happened around this. So, a guy posted a load of memes and pictures and stuff on Twitter. I believe 26 was the number of pictures, memes, one of which was a t-shirt. Or he's wearing a t-shirt, I think, or just the t-shirt. But on the t-shirt, it had a picture of a guillotine and the words, "Just making plans for Nigel." Might be slightly paraphrasing. Making plans for Nigel, that sort of thing. Amongst the 26 other sort of humorous memes, I guess a bit like the Count Binface memes, but slightly different. So the guy who uploaded these to try and get some perhaps celebrity attention tagged Zach Polanski's social media, I believe it was Twitter account. It's always Twitter, never X, of course. So we tagged him, whether it was Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever. And Andy Burnham just had a quick look, we're assuming, and so, yeah, bit of a giggle to himself. Didn't see this, the picture of the t-shirt or the meme. Yeah, and liked it. So that, oh, sorry, he didn't remove the tag, is the thing. Sorry, he didn't like it, he didn't remove the tag. But then Farage, in his great wisdom and outrage, decided to alter the picture to make it look as though it was Zach Polanski who'd posted it. Yeah, in a very underhanded fashion. And now he's been calling for the police to get involved, to intercede in this matter, claiming that it is in fact incitement to cause harm to himself. Yes, the great snowflake himself, who you didn't think would be so keen on investigations at the moment. No, but he's pointing at Polanski and essentially saying that he's trying to incite the public to cause harm. It's very, very sad, it's very, very cringe, of course, from Nigel Farage, but I think that Zach Polanski's handled it pretty well. And in fact, the police won't be taking any action on this. This just came in a short while before we came on stream. So for all of his throwing the toys out of the pram, It's not really done anything. He's thrown the phrase two-tier Britain, which we've heard quite a lot, into the mix. He says Zach Polanski is allowed to get away with inciting murder, whilst ordinary people up and down the country get a knock at the door making a joke online. I don't think she was joking when she posted about bombing a mosque, was it? Yeah. I believe that's who he's referring to. Awful individual. And in fact, at the moment, not to that extent, but the average frequency of attacks on mosques at the moment is one every 5 days. Where's the Cobra meeting for that one? So the Met said after a careful review it's concluded that it was unlikely the sharing of the image online would constitute a criminal offence. There's a quote here. Given it is unlikely their actions would have ultimately constituted an offence, such an extensive investigation was deemed to be disproportionate and not a reasonable use of police forces. I guess that's the nicest way they can say. Are you taking the fucking piss, Nigel? Particular consideration has been given to the context around the image, its use of song lyrics, and the marketing of the t-shirt as a satirical, that's the operative word, satirical piece. No complaints were received from people at the event, at which it, excuse me, I'll do that bit again. No complaints were received from people at the event at which it was worn, and there's no evidence the wearer of the t-shirt intended to threaten any individual or encourage anyone else to do so. So go and cram it, Nigel. And yeah, I won't play the clip. You've probably seen this one already if you're familiar with the story. Polanski said he wasn't going to apologise because of the aforementioned underhanded tactics that Nigel Farage used to try and, well, effectively frame Polanski by changing the context. So he said it was a mistake that he didn't remove the tag initially, but he's not properly apologising to Nigel Farage. It wasn't as though he posted it. And actually, now you come to think of it, as Mark Hammond's pointed out here on Twitter, if Nigel Farage thought the image of Zach Polanski that he reposted, that is, was so dangerous, why did he share it with 2.3 million followers? Yeah. We've kind of customised the picture. I hope Mark Hammond doesn't mind, but that's an excellent tweet that I saw earlier. Shout out to Mark. And it hadn't had nearly as much attention until Nigel Farage started talking about it and going, oh my god, look at this! Look at this t-shirt! What did it say in the article? I think it had about 130 shares before. It's a bit further up here. It had been shared by 130 accounts, yeah. Which isn't like viral. So I guess as far as that one's concerned, with my left private eye, it's case closed. Nice try, Nigel. Not this time. So that's it for that, I guess. It's just, you know, the fact that these kind of people and the phony culture war that they've drummed up, this war on woke, and how often they throw around words like snowflake, it just always gets to me when things like this happen. All of a sudden, they're so thin-skinned. Incredible. Okay, so that's it for another episode of My Left Private Eye.
One more question, sir, about those sacks of gold.
Oh wow, a police chase!
We're coming in! Open this door!
Yeah, Mo, it was a sorry not sorry, wasn't it, from Polonsky? Yeah, I'm sorry, not sorry. Yeah. Have we all smashed the like button? Hope so. So we move on to the next item.
On with it. Yes, get on with it!
Get on with it!
I'm going to try and ride the high on the emotional roller coaster now with the Greater Manchester mayoral election, which happens tomorrow. Anybody in Greater Manchester, urge you strongly to go out and vote for Geraldine Coggins, of course, who's in with a solid shout of victory. Let's hope. And I've got a few clips from campaigns and things like this. And she really has had a lot of support as well. And thoroughly deserved, I should say. Take a look at the manifesto. You'll find a lot of excellent policies in there. And a lot of my friends I know have been out busy campaigning for Geraldine as well. Of course, we'll be voting Coggins tomorrow. Please do join us in spirit, that is, if you're here in Greater Manchester. Right, let's see what's happening. Hot seats. Don't vote Tory.
Did you vote Tory?
No.
No one ever votes Tory, did we?
Okay, people. Even going out to the party, people. Let's see what's happening. We've got a few promo vids to go through, and you might have noticed yourselves that the Greens have taken on a bit of a more dramatic approach, shall we say, to their social media outputs. A bit of sort of amateur theatrics in there, of course. Leader Zach Polonsky, formerly of performing arts background himself, of course. Then we're going to hear from co-deputy leader, it is, Rachel Millward, who's been showing some support on the mainstream media as well, and Geraldine Coggins, whilst out on the campaign trail, came across a surprise campaigner as well. So let's see this little Amdram party promo first. It's having a dig at wealthy property developers, that sort of thing, gentrification, landlordism, and all the rest of it. So, get ready for the Oscar reel.
Greater Manchester, calling all landlords, developers, and overseas investors. On July 30th, let's elect a new Labour mayor for us.
Us developers have been handed nearly $1 billion of taxpayers' money to build luxury flats. Of course, we kept affordable housing down to just 4%. Rents up, profits up, more of the same with a new Labour mayor.
That's a Greater Manchester I can get behind.
Folks,
Wait, hold on. Who is this advert actually for? You lot are obsessed with skyscrapers. But listen, this election is actually about what's happening right here on the ground. Rents soaring, parents giving up on their kids ever owning their own home, families living in damp and mouldy flats. Labour chose this, but on July 30th, we can choose better. 20,000 homes that people can actually afford, in public hands so rents are kept low. And we will hold dodgy landlords to account in all 10 boroughs. That's a greener, Greater Manchester. On July 30th, it's up to us to make it happen. Vote Green.
Greater Manchester.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. It's a good way of illustrating the problem. More interesting than, God, David Cameron or someone just talking into a camera. Look, I'll pretend that I unload and load my own dishwasher every day to camera. No. Well done, well said there. Of course, the 20,000 genuinely affordable homes, genuinely being the operative word again, has been touted a lot. Labour have been very lax in that department. Yeah, you'll see plenty of luxury accommodation in central Manchester popping up, but even, even a lot of the student flats and things that they develop are ridiculously priced, even still. And they do market those to wealthy people from other countries who, whose families pay for them to study here. But in terms of catering to voters in Greater Manchester, people who pay council tax, yeah, it's certainly lacking. So well done the Greens for highlighting that. And those sort of numbers are numbers that you can believe in as well. The less said about Labour's 1.5 million promise on a national level, the better. And I've already said enough about that in the past, I guess. So just another short clip from co-deputy leader Rachel Millward next. Thanks for throwing up the Palestine flags in the chat, people. Always appreciate that. And Adam Gordon, it's been great to see you on the streams, yeah, even if you just found us recently. Always lovely to see you. Thanks for your contributions in chat as well. Glad that you're enjoying the streams. We like to be here as well. Sorry, I was semi-distracted. We do have a couple of fireworks going off again. Again, at a strange time on a seemingly insignificant day. Perhaps they celebrate hot seats on the Brews at 10. That's what it must be, the people of Manchester in celebration. Let's hope that we can celebrate a victory tomorrow. Can't believe it's tomorrow. It's come so quickly. Rachel Millward, what's happening?
We're just not working on the biggest crisis of our time. 2,700 deaths. Where are the emergency meetings? Where are the briefings? You can't deny, really, the seriousness of the threat that's facing us. Europe is heating up twice as fast as the rest of the world. The Cairngorms are on fire. There are fires in Sussex. There are fires in Greater Manchester. And Andy Burnham's come in and says he cares about our safety and about our thriving economy, and yet has done nothing on this. Worse than nothing, is still talking about drilling in the North Sea. What we need is so much more investment in renewables so that we have energy sovereignty, so that bills go down, and we're investing in the industry of the future.
But we've done
sustainable
brilliantly on
economy.
renewables.
Yeah. And it's the fastest growing part of the economy. Yeah. So why not just do more and more and more of that?
But isn't it dangerous?
If even Dale here can figure that one out, then it's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
To put all your eggs in one basket in terms of energy security.
Oh, he is actually doubting them. Well, eggs in one basket, that's what we've done with fossil fuels since, you know, the first oil wells were discovered and the Industrial Revolution kicked off, etc. That's the real crazy addiction. That's the real putting all of your eggs in one basket, even if you're not just talking environmentally, economically as well. Let's put everything on this thing that will eventually run out. It's not self-sustainable. It's made out of fucking dinosaurs. It takes that long to naturally develop. Okay? Bloody hell. And yes, it's going to run out before winds and tide and the sun do, by a long way. By a long way. Ian Dale. More on.
I mean, let's say in 10 years' time there is no wind.
Yeah. No. I don't know where to start. Has he heard of AMOC? Has he heard of El Nino? But I can't foresee a global wind shortage or just the UK. What if? And he's really, really scraping the bottle of the oil, the bottom of the barrel of oil there with that statement. Sorry, can't get my words out tonight. It's been a long one, but the enthusiasm keeps me going. That's unbelievable from someone who considers himself a serious broadcaster. What if the wind runs out? Oh, God. We've got 5 gifted in the... Just a very quick change of topic. 5 gifted in the chat. Eddie, really do appreciate that. Thank you very much for that Solidari-Tea, brother. Let's big up Eddie in the chat, everyone. Sorry, just getting over it. Ian Dell's ridiculousness here. I'll, with pleasure, update the total to 118 now. Thanks again, Eddie. What's the... Here we are. Carry on. He really is something else, this guy.
10 years' time, sort of solar power is different.
Oh, there's no...
It is different. Well, Rachel's going to come back here.
And there's no wind in 10 years' time. The least of our problems, if that happens, we're done. The cost to our economy.
Yeah. And the weather will get a lot shorter at the end of the news, won't it? You know, and now it's over to the weather. Has the cloud gone yet? No, it's just still those same clouds there. Just they're not shifting. No wind. Oh, by the way, agriculture's completely collapsed. Honestly, man.
Of not tackling climate change is phenomenal. The drop in productivity through these heat waves is appalling. We have to keep it in check, and then we have to adapt. Like, what amazes me is how the government is not talking about climate adaptation. You know, we need to be talking about maximum temperatures in your place of work. We need to talk about how we insulate our buildings so that they're warm in the winter and they're cool in the summer. Like, we're just not working on the biggest crisis of our time. 2,700 deaths. Where are the emergency meetings? Where are the briefings?
Yeah, that's just from this heatwave alone, which, of course, still continues. Really good stuff from Rachel Millward here. Always really impressed with how she handles mainstream media interviews. They've got a solid one there. Adam, you've actually rang LBC and spoke to Ian Dale yourself, have you? Oh, good on you. Yeah, I know quite a few people who call into LBC and other outlets. So you were livid about what Farage said about gay pride. Was this following the incident in Berlin? Perhaps, but yeah, notorious homophobe, of course. And well done, Adam, for phoning LBC. Heady, yeah, no wind, no sun, no rain. It's they'll say anything, won't they? You know. And believe me, I've had a lot of conversations about climate in my time with not just people who are on the fence about it, but hardcore deniers as well. And just one or two very quick examples that spring to mind. On one occasion, a couple of years ago, I was speaking to someone about it, and I mentioned it was surrounding whether climate change is human caused or not. It was the thing, and I just presented a very short set of stats on the matter, you know, relating to the Industrial Revolution, so on and so forth. And then this sort of thing happens with deniers or whatnot. Obviously, they don't absorb any of that. And you've just gone on to quote years of study, people with titles like professor, doctor, people who really know the shit, even people like Bill McGuire, who's going to be coming up shortly after Hot Seats as well. And then they go, do you know what I think? And this is, you know, not what I know. This is like not some research that they're... What I think, like you just... As if they came up with the hypothesis themselves. I think it's all just part of a natural pattern, and they'll perhaps mention solar flares, solar patterns, that sort of thing. And of course, it's demonstrably proven to be human-caused, human-accelerated as well. And natural events only probably account for, 10% of the temperature changes. So there you go. And it does happen. It does happen. But it is just so frustrating, really, when you come across people like that. I know, yeah, how can you deny climate change, but then again, some people still think the Earth is flat. I'm sure some of the ones who do all of that on YouTube, actually, some of them genuinely know that the Earth isn't flat. But they still know that there's money to be made from bullshitting about it, I guess. Which is a shame within itself, you know, that they have to be so fake like that as well. But there are still a lot of genuine believers. Unfortunately, it became a thing quite a while ago, actually. It's more a kind of reincarnation of it, isn't it? Anyway, that's a whole other topic. I can recommend a couple of channels for that one if anyone knows. Science Man Dan. Simon Dan, sorry. Size in science hyphen man Dan. Daniel does a great job in dismantling flat earth and anti-science YouTubers. I think back during COVID as well, he was doing a lot of great stuff targeting the ridiculous anti-vax movement as well. You know, it's got the 5G signals and the blah blah blah. Nanobots. What's the other one as well? It's covered a few topics. I think that one about birds not being real and they're all actually just robot fucking spies for the CIA or something. One has come up. But check out his channel. Yeah, Simon Dan. He's a really good one for debunking flat earthers. We've digressed somewhat away from Manchester, which is on planet Earth, which is round. But back to the mayoral contest. Sorry for getting distracted. Let's just get on with it. Next clip. It's another one of those sort of performance art ones, as it were. And Geraldine Coggins herself out on the campaign trail bumped into another green, excuse me, another green politician in the form of Natalie Bennett. Is actually here in the other place, the second chamber, the one that has to go. But she's still a nice person.
So, Geraldine, it's lovely to be back up again campaigning. Not long to go now. How's the campaign for the Great Manchester Parody going?
Yeah, thanks for coming again. It's been brilliant. We have such a huge campaign on the ground and so much energy and people travelling all over the place. Loads of people coming from the South Coast, from London. Just such a big group came from Rugby, Sheffield, all over the place. Cambridge, someone was from today. And we're having so much fun on the ground as well. People are catching up with old friends and meeting new friends. And yeah, cutting through on the media, and we have a big TV debate this week, which was interesting.
So what's sort of the big issues in the campaign? How's it all being framed? How are people understanding it?
Well, I think because we have this new Prime Minister now, and everyone is looking to Manchesterism as the solution to the problems of the country, and us here in Greater Manchester know that Manchesterism is the problem. You know, that we've seen all this money poured into these private developers who've built these extravagant executive housing that most people can't afford to live in, you know, and people are struggling to pay their rent. Rents have just gone up and up and up, and like, people are feeling left behind. You know, the city centre has seen all of this investment. Places like Bolton and Rochdale and Wigan, they're feeling really left behind.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before as well, you see all of these new luxury flats and skyscrapers going up at the same time as situations notorious. Places like Piccadilly Gardens, where there's substance abuse. You see beggars on every street corner, on every corner and crossroad of every major intersection almost within the city as well. To have those two things happening at the same time is a system failure. That's all it can be described as, because you shouldn't have so much wealth in one area and so much poverty elsewhere.
A few days to go now. The message, vote green and get green. We better go out and get some more people, make sure they hear that message.
We better. We've seen it in Gorton and Denton, where my colleague Hannah Spencer had that seismic win. We've seen it in the local elections where we had those historic green wins right across Greater Manchester and across the country. And now we need to make it happen again this Thursday.
Yeah, I hope people do. I've been encouraging as many people as I can to vote. Cheers, mate. To vote green. Yes, thank you. Oh, I should have mentioned earlier, we're doing tonight's broadcast from the middle of the A56. It's caused quite a bit of disruption so far. I'm really surprised I've not been arrested, but this isn't my first rodeo, if you know what I mean, people. Oh, sorry, it's just a few enthusiastic horn honkers. Oh shit, I left the honk if you hate Andy Burnham flag. Oh, that must be why. Phil, I thought I told you to take that down before we start the stream. Don't want too many interruptions. Anyway, bit sort of cringe from the Amdram. I kind of like it, to be honest. Just the sort of start of those kind of videos, you know, just stood here with a porcelain cup of hot beverage contemplating the mid-distance. And then a long walk to sitting pier. No, not taking the piss, because I know a lot of really hard work genuinely has gone into the campaign in Manchester. Seriously, we do have our fingers crossed for Geraldine Coggins tomorrow, hopefully. The next time I'm with you on stream, it will be in a celebratory fashion where that's concerned. And like I said, yeah, I can't believe how quickly it's gone. Tomorrow, the first Green Party mayor, question mark. It will be pretty close. That's for certain. Seen some varied polling. But where the trends are concerned, we've only seen one thing, and that is a crash for Labour, a dip for Reform, and the Green Party in the ascendancy. Can they do it? Find out tomorrow.
Okay!
Did you vote Tory?
No.
No one ever votes Tory, did they?
Right, the music's too loud. The neighbours have been complaining. You just watch your steps, Sonny.
All right. Nothing on Clacton in hot seats tonight, just a quick add-on, I guess. But a few people have been saying that there's a poll which indicates Binface might be in front of Nigel Farage. However, this poll in question still remains elusive. I've checked some usual sources and yeah, it's pretty quiet. That could just be a murmur. However, you can't fail to see just how much Binface's popularity is growing, so that one's coming up in a fortnight's time. Keep my left eye on that one. What we're saying in chat, people. Emma, yeah, just back to the ridiculous vaccine 5G conspiracy theory. It would have been helpful if it boosted your signal, because if your power chair's going to break down when you're out alone, it will happen when there's no signal. Yeah, if it was real, you'd just be able to speak into your hand, I guess, and or whatever. Back to matters in hand here, of course. Speaking of the Greens, we've spoke a lot about the climate so far. That brings us on to 4 billion dead. Don't worry, that's not a competition that we've got on the streams or anything. For anybody who's wondering what it's all about, no, it's a new project, if you will, a new campaign. Is probably the better word, and it surrounds some very concerning revelations hidden within a recent insurance report, because insurance companies, of course, have vested interests in what the effects of the climate crisis are going to be in the future in terms of liability. Buried in the appendix was the fact that once we get past 3 degrees of average global temperature rise, bearing in mind 2 is more or less baked in and we're on course for around 2.7 at the moment, 3 degrees would cause the death of 4 billion people, approximately half the population of the world. No, we're not talking Marvel, we're not talking Thanos snapping his fingers, this is real. As well as some other alarming facts and statistics, which we're going to hear now. So I did play the clip you're about to see on the last stream. I just thought it'd be good to refresh our memories. I always like to hear Bill McGuire speaking, but for anybody who wasn't on that last stream, you kind of need the background context before we hear from Roger Hallam, who's helping to get this project off the ground. He's a co-founder of other organisations like Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil, of course. I'm a supporter of JSO as well. And what's going to be happening? Like I said earlier, the full Zoom call is public, so don't worry, I'm not playing like a private recorded Zoom call that I shouldn't be playing or anything. Yeah, you can check it out. There's a link in the description. But I've just selected some of Bill and Roger's input here. So get your doom hats on, people. And let's see what's happening. I'm just going to let this play through. I interrupted a couple of times on the last stream while Bill was talking. I'll just let it play through. And then it'll go on from Bill onto Roger. Let's brew this thing.
Hello everyone, it's great to have a chance to talk to you about the increasingly dire straits we find ourselves in. I want to begin by saying something about where we are now and what we can expect in the next few decades. I'll then focus on the bigger picture and look at how global heating compares with other hot episodes in the geological record. So where are we now? Global heating has averaged more than 1.5 degrees C for the last 3 years. This 1.5 degrees figure wasn't picked out of a hat. It represents the aspirational limit of the Paris Climate Accord, and it's been defined as the dangerous climate change guardrail. Now we're on the cusp of crashing through it permanently. This temperature threshold is especially critical as it coincides with a number of key climate tipping points, including collapse of the Greenland and West Antarctic ice sheets, which together will result in an unstoppable 12-metre sea level rise. Because of the way that permanent temperature increases are calculated, we won't know when we've passed 1.5 degrees until 10 years after the event. But with the building hyper El Nino pushing up the planet's temperature rise to more than 1.6, quite possibly 1.7 degrees C in the next 12 months, the only way we'll see 1.5 degrees again is by looking in the rearview mirror. So what next? In the last decade or so, the rate of global heating has doubled to 0.35 C a decade. That translates to 1 degree every 28 years. Without further acceleration, this would mean the 2 C mark being breached around 2040. The thing is, this doesn't fit with satellite data, which suggests much faster heating. In fact, a new paper yet to be peer-reviewed points to satellite data indicating a heating rate of close to 0.5 degrees C per decade. Accordingly, we can see a cataclysmic 3 C rise by 2050. And this chimes with the predictions of a 2025 report by the German Meteorological and Physical Societies. The bottom line is that the whole idea that current policies point to a 2.6 or 2.7 degrees C rise by 2100 is complete bollocks. The reality is that a return to the conditions of the late Pliocene 3 million years ago are already locked in, and I'll say a bit more about that later. Which brings me to the bigger picture. We can only appreciate the reality of climate breakdown by putting current global heating into context and looking at how it fits into the 4.6 billion year history of our world. If we look back into deep time, we find that our planet has been hotter than it is now for most of its life, often much hotter. In fact, greenhouse or hothouse conditions, which means no ice at the poles, have prevailed across more than 3/4 of our planet's history. The thing is, this has not the slightest relevance to our current predicament. What makes our situation so dangerous is the astonishing speed of heating. The reality is not that we've been here before, but that we've never been here before, because our world is heating faster now than at any time in the geological record. And that means 10 times faster than during the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, or PETM, 56 million years ago, and at least 20 times faster than at the end of the last ice age. The last 50 million years or so has seen a gradual cooling of the planet, culminating in the ice age, which began about 2.5 million years ago. But now we're rewinding this trend, so that our world is undergoing what I call rapid prehistorification. Already our climate has pretty much reverted to that of the last interglacial period, 125,000 years ago, known as the Eemian. Then the global temperature was about 2 degrees C hotter than pre-industrial, and sea levels were 6 to 9 meters higher. As we continue to pump out 41 billion tons of CO2 a year, that's the weight of about 800,000 Titanics, things are not going to end there. Governments are rowing back hard on green measures, fossil fuel corporations are planning for expansion, and it's becoming clear, as I mentioned earlier, the return to a Pliocene climate is the best we can hope for. Now, this was a time when CO2 levels in the atmosphere were significantly lower than they are today, at 330 to 400 parts per million. Today they're about 428 ppm. But the temperature was between 2.5 and 4 degrees C above pre-industrial, and sea level was 15 to 25 meters higher. Published modelling research points to Pliocene conditions beginning to emerge in the continental heartlands as soon as the 2030s and spreading out from there. If we want this to be as far back as we rewind the climate clock, then emissions need to be reined in and they need to peak before 2040 and then fall rapidly. If this doesn't happen, then we're likely to rewind the climate clock further back to the Miocene period 15 million years ago. CO2 concentrations then were 400 to 600 parts per million, so a bit lower to moderately higher than they are today, but the temperature was 6 to 8 degrees C higher, which is surprising and worrying considering the relatively low CO2 levels, and this suggests that we might be missing something in our models. Sea levels were as much as 50 meters higher than they are today. If we keep going on regardless and burn through all known fossil fuel reserves, we will add another 3.5 trillion tons of CO2 to the atmosphere, and that's on top of the 2.5 trillion emitted so far. This would bring a double-figure global temperature rise, and it would rewind the climate clock back more than 50 million years to the ice-free early Eocene hothouse. Whether humanity would survive is extremely doubtful. With the return to the Pliocene effectively locked in, catastrophic climate breakdown is now inevitable. According to a number of recent analyses, this will have devastating impacts on society and economy within decades. One study predicts societal breakdown beginning as soon as 2040, another raises a spectre of deaths measured in the billions by mid-century. There's no disguising the fact that this would be horrific, but there is a silver lining of sorts. Early societal and economic breakdown would result in a precipitous fall in emissions that would halt the rewinding climate clock in the Pliocene or perhaps the Miocene. This would at least save us from a return to an early Eocene hellhole and likely oblivion. So what does all this tell us? Firstly, every ton of carbon emitted rewinds the climate clock that little bit further back. and brings an ever hotter world, ultimately higher sea levels, increasingly hospitable conditions. So every ton of carbon we can stop being emitted is a win of sorts. Are you listening, Mr. Burnham? Secondly, we're no longer fighting to prevent catastrophic climate breakdown, which is already baked in. We're fighting for survival. Thirdly, while we still desperately need to slash emissions, we also need to learn fast how to prevail on a hotter planet with higher seas and supercharged weather at a time when society and economy are beginning to crumble. Fourthly and lastly, in anticipation of the splintering of central control, we need to start to organise now at a local level. And that means town, village, street, block of flats even, to start planning for what measures we can take to keep our homes cool, for how we can manage water supplies, how we can grow as much of our own food as possible, how we can generate our own energy, and how we can best keep ourselves and our loved ones safe in an increasingly Wild West world. I want to leave you with 3 quotes that are especially pertinent to our time and the decades ahead. Despite our undoubtedly bleak prospects, knowledge is empowering and motivating, and we can only face up to the climate chaos that's coming if we know its full extent and act accordingly. As James Garfield, 20th President of the United States, put it, the truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable. To flag the precariousness of our existence in 2026, even in one of the world's most developed countries, the words of early 20th century writer and journalist Alfred Henry Lewis are especially relevant. Only 9 meals separate humanity from anarchy. And to conclude, it's an incontrovertible truth that the more civilized we have become, so the world around us has progressively deteriorated. As the great American writer and thinker Ralph Waldo Emerson noted, the end of the human race will be that it will eventually die of civilization. It's up to us, however, that we need to prove this wrong and to do our utmost to make sure that we can keep a light shining in the coming darkness. And I'll stop there. The bottom line is that our situation is grim and it will get much more so, but we must never forget that hope dies last. Thank you all for listening.
Excellent, if terrifying, from Bill McGuire there. He actually had to re-record his part. There was a connectivity issue on the original call. So great to see that he re-recorded and managed to get that on the video. So yeah, after Bill McGuire, Roger Hallam came on and said a few things about this 4 billion dead campaign, why it started and what it's all about. And I've just put a few snippets of that together, so that's what we're going to see next.
Okay, so I want to start with a sort of indisputable fact, which I think all of us can agree on, which was a while ago, a year or so ago, as has been mentioned, the British insurance industry produced a report. That seems pretty indisputable to me. And in the appendix, and we want to be fairly precise about this, right? It said that 3 degrees C, 3 degrees Celsius of global heating, there will be at least, I need to correct Zane, it's not up to, there will be at least 4 billion dead. And in my book, that's called a prediction, right? It didn't actually say how these people are going to die, but I would like to suggest that it's assuming that these people aren't just going to go up in smoke one day. There's going to be 2 or 3 generations of billions of people dying. These people die in war. These will be people who die because of social collapse. They're going to die agonizing death through starvation, or some combination of all of them. What it's implying is that 4 billion people will die between 2050, on the assumption we hit 3 degrees Celsius then, and let's say over the next 2 generations to 2100. In other words, if we say that the world population is around 8 billion at the moment, then we're saying that by 2100, 4 billion extra deaths will have happened and we'll be down to 4 billion people. Okay, so I think we can all agree on that. Obviously, there's going to be, slight variations, as you might say, but this is what the British insurance industry is saying. I want to draw your attention to one or two other aspects of this report, right, and how it was received. The first thing to say is, why the hell is it in the appendix? Why is it in the appendix? I mean, this is a 35, 40-page report. It's not in the title. It's not in the summary at the beginning. There's no chapter on it in the main text. It's in Appendix A. So the most horrendous possibility in the human experience is stuck in Appendix A. And then they engage in what I would call a bit of a word salad, having made the prediction that there's going to be 4 billion dead. They then pretend this is not a prediction, it's something more like an illustration.
That is just the capitalist mindset succinct, really, isn't it? It's put on literally as a footnote in the appendix. Oh, by the way, there'll be 4 billion dead people. Anyway, let's talk about liability. Let's talk about capital. That's what really matters. The line on the chart has to go up at all costs, at all human and environmental costs. Roger's rightly outraged at this, as I am as well, because it just shows the attitude of insurance companies and, of course, other big players within capitalism as well. The lack of humanity is astounding, really.
But I would respectfully suggest to them and to you that when people say there will be at least 4 billion dead after 3 degrees C, that is what it says. It's a prediction. It doesn't mean it's absolutely going to happen, but it means it's in the ballpark. It's the main scenario, because why else would they put it down in their report? And I want to refer also to how this report was responded to by the world's media. And Zane has already touched on this. Or let me be a little bit more specific. In The Guardian, a supposedly pro-human, socially aware liberal newspaper, the article was titled that words to the effect that 50% of GDP could be lost later in the century if we go 3 degrees C. You have to go to paragraph 5 to find out that 4 billion people are going to die. What does that say about the liberal establishment? That the lives of 4 billion people, and let's not pretend that these people are not going to be mainly black and brown people, are less important than white people, rich people's pensions in the global north.
Yeah, just as a reminder, 80% of the world's population, 80-20 is the north to south global split in terms of population. The people in the global south would be the first and the worst to be affected by climate change.
After 200 years of anti-racism, we're still there. That the poor of this world don't matter. What matters is our GDP. So what I want to suggest to you all is we're not in some neutral, benign media landscape here, even in the liberal space. We're in a space where people are engaged in systematically suppressing the truth to us as global citizens. And this has been going on for 40 years.
What Roger's referring to there with the 40 years thing is it was the fossil fuel companies themselves that did the research which proved that climate change, that temperature rises are human caused by fossil fuels, accelerated by fossil fuels. They tried to bury that for centuries. They bought up patents on technology that delayed or outright stopped green energy development, including solar panels. There were, so many legal loopholes had to be gotten through, and whatnot, red tape, for solar panels to be as broadly used as they are at the moment. We could have been using solar panels, better quality ones, excuse me, for a lot longer than we have at the moment. And it's almost like doubling down on the damage that they've done. Not only did they find out that they're the culprits, the fossil fuel companies are the culprits, they then hinder the development of things that would stop the bad thing that they're doing. But then they went to the bank, saw how many zeros they had, and they didn't want to give that up. They made a very moral choice all that time ago, and have done every living hour ever since, unfortunately.
In other words, there's been a systematic attempt to not actually say what's going on, that people are going to die, and how those people are going to die, and how many people are going to die, by when. All this is systematically repressed because we as the peasants are not allowed to know what's going to happen to us. And it's disgusting, is it not? It disgusts me. Because I'm an adult and we're adults and we have a right to know what's going on and what's being done to us and our children and our children's children, do we not? I'll give you another example, a little bit close to home. In 2018, I was at King's College doing research. I did a talk called Heading for Extinction and What to Do About It. Heading for Extinction and What to Do About It. Many of you remember this talk. It was done thousands of times around the world. I did the first draft of that talk and I held it at King's College. And a large part of that talk, I talked about death because that's what we're facing. And I said, death is what happens in war. And I used an example from the Second World War. I said, when the Nazis invaded the Soviet Union, in the first few months, they captured 3 million prisoners of war, Soviet troops, and they put them on open trucks on railway carriages. And many of them froze to death on the way to death camps. And when they got to the death camps, they were systematically starved to death. And they ate each other and they trampled on each other. And within 3 months, 3 million men were starved to death. And 3 years later, the Soviet troops invaded East Germany. And for decades, this was covered up, but 2 million women were raped within a matter of weeks. This is what the Second World War was like. And
yeah, it was awful. They didn't make it past the Volga, of course. They got their asses handed to them at Stalingrad, and it was all downhill after that. It's only a small fraction of the German army made it back. They ended up having to eat their horses and then nothing, and many of them froze to death, having been provided with the wrong type of clothing given the season, that is the harsh, unforgiving Russian winters where temperatures dip as low as minus 40, minus 50 degrees Celsius. But prior to that, there were unbelievable atrocities, unbelievable. Those numbers, the scale of which are staggering, especially, as Roger said, given the fact that they only happened within a few weeks. Has been silenced, has been buried. You really have to go out of your way to find these things. Even within historical studies, they won't mention things like this, even if they're teaching World War II history in the broader curriculum either. But the truth has to be known, otherwise you're not learning history. You're just learning a rose-tinted version or a biased version, which does happen anyway, of course, as being on the side of the Allies and whatnot. But I'm getting detracted from the point. Let's hear Roger speak a bit more about cover-ups, because that's what this is all about. But instead of war, it's fossil fuels and insurance.
In the Second World War, 50 million people died. So if you want to know what 4 billion dead looked like, it's 80 World War IIs in 50 years. The Guardian's not going to tell you that, is it?
No.
That's what we're looking at, are we not? It's simple maths.
Fuck the Guardian.
And yes, at 2 degrees C, there's going to be less deaths. There's only going to be 2 billion, at least 2 billion at 2 degrees centigrade that we're going to go over in the next decade, around 2035 to 2040. So, hey, that's only 40 World War IIs. What we're looking at, I want to be as clear as I can because no one's talking about this, are they? Millions of people are going to die in concentration camps. Millions of migrants are going to die up against fences which fascist governments in the global north are going to erect to stop people coming in.
And this is the thing, Bill McGuire sort of aspired to this earlier a little bit as well. The breakdown of society will come first, and that is what will cause a lot of death and destruction. By Bill's estimates and a lot of other people's estimates, this could be something that's happening in and around 2040, in just 14 years' time, which is ridiculous. And I'll remind you again of another excellent quote from Kevin Anderson, who says that there definitely is going to be a revolution in the world, but it's whether it's going to be a velvet one or a violent one, and the violent one is the version that Roger's describing here, which is absolutely the last thing we want. It simply cannot happen. It simply cannot happen. Because this is almost beyond the realms of reality. I mentioned Thanos snapping his fingers earlier on, but this is reality. It's very hard to get your head around these sort of numbers in such a short amount of time.
That's what's going to happen, right? That's the main scenario we're heading towards. Unless there's revolutionary change in our societies in the next 10 years. Let's not fool ourselves. That's the image. Hundreds of miles of fences with dead people, dead bodies piled against them. What else do you think they're going to do, these Trump people?
Yeah. Unfortunately, too many governments in developed countries have now developed themselves this anti-immigration rhetoric and policy that comes with it. As though they're, just trying to outdo each other on how many people they can keep out. But on the scale that we're talking about, when we get to these kind of temperature rises, which we will, then it's going to be absolutely horrific.
Okay, so maybe there's a few of you who have that little response defense mechanism which is going, it's okay, it's only a prediction. And you're absolutely right. It's only a prediction, which means you're absolutely right. It could be less. It could be 1 billion deaths. It could be 1 billion deaths. But who's counting? Who's counting? It's still unbelievably obscene. And secondly, this is not a bunch of activists. It's not a bunch of retired academics. It's the bloody British insurance industry. I mean, if you were going to choose a more respectable organization to make a prediction, who would you choose? You choose people who make a living out of making accurate predictions about death. This is the British insurance industry, for God's sake. I mean, how bad can it get?
Very. If Godzilla emerged and went stomping around every major city, it'd probably even Won't be as bad.
Okay. So we need to focus on our response, do we not? And the 4 words we've come up with in this project are, there are no words. There are no words. Because there are no words. The situation is beyond obscene. Engaging in words belittles the reality, does it not? But we do know something, and we've known this for a while, haven't we? That what's coming down the road is going to change everything. Not least, the whole way we do campaigning. This is not a campaign call. It's not a campaign call, okay? Get this out of our minds. This is a call to confront the most horrendous possibility in the human experience. It's not a thing, it's everything. It's going to change everything forever. And you know, we've been saying this for a while. We said this at the beginning of Extinction Rebellion, as you may remember, right? But it's sort of gone out of fashion a little bit. Have you noticed? It's a bit like, oh, we can forget about this for a while. Let's just, you know, close our ears and pretend, you know, it's sort of gone away. Well, it hasn't gone away.
It hasn't. It hasn't. And the later we act, the worse it'll be. I'll leave it there for brevity's sake. Like I said, I do encourage you to check out the full call. The link is available in the description of this stream. Well, that was quite doomtastic. Just to sort of bring it a bit further home to the UK. Short snippet here about the ongoing crisis in the UK, Europe as well, of course, France and Spain experiencing extreme wildfires at the moment. Other countries on critical alert. Countries like Greece and Italy, where previous fires have emerged. Let's get some background going. One or two here just popping off a chat. Nice to see you. Yeah, I'll catch you next time. Thanks for being here. We've still got a bit further to go on stream. Short clip here. Channel 4. Let's see what's happening.
We have these extraordinary pictures. We get them every year, to be honest, but they seem to get worse every year as well. And at the same time, in the same period, there's backsliding on policy across the board, as I just showed, for tackling climate change. What's going on?
Well, like you say, we've been saying for 20, 30, 40 years, this is coming. And your previous report just showed it's here in ever greater scale. And these fires replicate the huge ones we saw across Russia, across Canada, across the US, heat, drought. So it couldn't be clearer, one would think.
So why do politicians think that there are votes in not tackling it?
It is a tricky one because we've always had overwhelming public support for action. But I think we haven't caught up with the fact that almost any and all economic action on this agenda to clean up our air, change our transport, change our energy systems, nearly all of it is really good for the economy, cheaper, much richer in jobs, much richer in new industries all around the country. So this should be an open goal, particularly for a new administration that is saying, okay, place-based.
But then wealth and power would be spread out, you see, and that's a problem. That's a problem for them. The means of production, you see, it's not really their kind of thing.
Community-driven, well-being and health and so on. So I think that we haven't caught up, and there are a lot of corporate and a lot of government interests that are pushing back, saying, hang on, steady on, not so fast.
But is that because the debate is framed along the lines of it's either the cost of living or it's climate change? And actually, it could be both, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we don't deal with climate change, it might be a lot more in terms of cost of living.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a binary choice whatsoever. Anyone who will tell you that, it's out of the damn minds.
And I think we always say, people in my line of work, every time you have these, shattering images, you just want people to then relate it to the root causes. And the root causes here around emissions, we're considering North Sea oil all around the world. You have, certain politicians drill, baby drill, and so on. And it really is absolutely, crazy at this point to be contemplating, investing.
But even this new government, Andy Burnham's government, is thinking of, reopening drilling for oil and gas in the North Sea.
So those fields were.
Are they wrong to do that?
Don't worry, there's chirpier stuff to come before we finish the stream, I assure you.
They would be, yes. Those fields were approved by the previous government without even asking the impact that the emissions from them would have on the environment. That's why there was a review. There's discussion that this is maybe a tactical thing, that actually the investment won't actually go into the North Sea, it's not profitable, or that it's a bit of sort of red meat.
But the fact that he feels the need to make it a tactical thing, that speaks volumes.
I think it would be better to be honest and look at the way, for example, something that's quite under-discussed on the North Sea is how it increases the overall supply of fossil fuel. If we don't take it from overseas and we do it, in the North Sea, you're still generating a bigger market in fossil fuel and emissions, and you're literally putting fuel on the fire of these events around the world.
I mean, so much energy in this country comes from renewable energy sources. On certain days, something, 70% of the electricity we consume comes from wind. Not every day, of course, and a lot of it from solar as well. Is it that politicians aren't telling?
The green energy storage solutions are somewhat set aside in the public discourse as well. There's a great amount that we can achieve with that as well. That's not some sort of pseudoscience that the likes of carbon capture, for example, is as a solution. The sun doesn't have to shine, and whatnot. We do live in a temperate zone. We're fortunate to have very, very continuous supply of wind and tidal, but not so much where the sun's concerned. But the storage solutions are there. Just look at Scotland, okay? Scotland's such a good example for how ridiculous the current situation we have, because they produce an energy surplus, producing more energy than they use, yet have the highest bills in Europe. And that says so much, not just about renewable energy capacity, but how fucked up fossil fuels are as well, and how much rip-off energy there is in Britain at the moment.
The story properly? The good story, the positive story, that it veers on the side of the negative?
Well, first of all, look at the opposite. Look at the sort of vested interest. So Ed Miliband was simply, largely saying, let's stop contributing to climate change. He had over 200 targeted editorials against him in the last couple of years, and the current
blaming some of the media.
Some of the media absolutely is.
Well, even without the media against him, he's just not going to be good enough. I don't think Ed Miliband has nearly enough ambitious vision for the real solutions.
Shocking on this, and the interests behind the media, the ownership of the media, the agenda of the media, and the agenda of many corporates. And also, many corporates are just looking after their near-term profitability. So what it needs is a really grasping of the political agenda to understand that this is actually a hugely positive story for the country. But you have to get that narrative right.
Of course, those interests would say, hang on, it's the other side that's politically interested. You're pushing an agenda.
An agenda to make the...
yeah, like what reality is an agenda now, is it? It's a narrative, it's an opinion, is it? That's... come on, really. Well, he sees how laughable it is as well.
Planet livable. And,
but one interesting thing is, even the Green Party,
I don't think that's what Matt Fry thinks. He was just sort of quoting what the sort of deniers would say.
Party, has decided that it would rather talk about social injustice and cost of living than the climate. Does that strike you as odd?
I think that's a very different issue, actually. I think with the Greens, they are well known for their position on all of this stuff, and they need to show a wider range of voters that they...
Yeah, but this is their moment.
Oh, we've had a raid. Welcome in viewers from No Justice. Excellent stuff. Please do hit thumbs up as you join us on stream. If you don't know the channel already, this is My Left Eye, all about politics and society from a left-wing point of view. You're all very welcome here. Thanks for joining us. We've just been going over some climate doom, which is something we like to do on the channel. We were just talking about a 4 billion dead campaign and an insurance report. Now we're on to a bit from Channel 4 News just about the UK's response, or lack of, to the real solutions for the climate crisis. But again, a very warm welcome to No Justice viewers. Anybody who's watching this stream, I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with No Justice, but if you're not, head over, check out No Justice MTG. That's the handle that you need. Go and subscribe. It is essential viewing for UK politics, absolutely. Right, let's just crack on. There's a bit more of this clip, and then we are going to raise our spirits. As I said, it's been quite doomy for the last while on the stream. Something a bit more light-hearted after this, hopefully.
To connect the dots, isn't it?
It is, and then let's hope that they do that. But I think it's a very different story on the other end of the political spectrum, and there's a lot of agendas behind the scenes about really making money and continuing to make money in those industries. Now, there's no question the transition is a difficult one. There'll be winners and losers, but for the everyday members of the public, this is absolutely a positive, and that's the narrative we need to encourage Andy Burnham to bring in.
Nick Bridge, thank you very much indeed.
I don't think you can put all your chips on Burnham where climate change is concerned. That's all I'll say in conclusion. Again, solidarity with anyone in Scotland. Hope you're keeping safe if you're close to those wildfires, and solidarity with everyone in Europe at the moment. Nina Sadie's got some excellent advice in chat. Yes, please do like and subscribe to the channel if you've just joined us over from Helena at No Justice. Solidari-Tea, thanks for that. Yeah, nice raid.
Socialists.
Oh my God.
A raid and a gifted as well. Excellent. Andrew Luke, nice to see you, brother. We collaborated recently. Check out Series 2, Episode 1 of Screen Cleaner for that. Go to Collabs or Andrew Luke's excellent channel as well, Epinomous channel. Just type in Andrew Luke and YouTube will do the rest for you. Great stuff. Another gifted from Eunice. Oh, and another from Andy. That's 3 now. Excellent. Big up Nina and Andy in the chat, please, everybody. 121. Nice. Jonathon Reynolds sort of interview there. For your consideration. Yes, a great amount of time and expense went into that. I'm sure you noticed.
Very cool indeed.
Something that is definitely quality is the audience that we have here on My Left Eye, and the members as well. Quite a lot of members on stream tonight. It's been great to see you. Thank you very much for your gifted memberships tonight as well. That's got us up to 121 now, towards the target of 250. Really do appreciate that boost. Whether you contribute by super chat, super stickers, or the Buy Me a Coffee page, whatever it is, really do appreciate all of the support. And if you just want to consider for a moment the membership package for yourself, it's only 99 pence. So do hit the join button, whatever it's called, this week to find out more about the perks. You'll get some early viewings, exclusive content, that kind of shebang and shebusiness. Static emojis as well on streams. So do check that out. Thank you very much, people. Streeton's the Graham Lister, is he? Yeah. Oh, sorry. There are other episodes of the Pat McFadden Experience. If you enjoyed that one, you can check out our playlists. You might also want to check out the Psychiatrist Directory. Only joking. Is that another gifted as well? It is. Thanks again, Andrew. Awesome. 122. Great way to see out the stream. Yes, we are getting towards the end. Stick around. We'll be raiding ourselves, but there's also, as always, a bit of post-ending shenanigans. And there are Palestine flags in the chat as well. Really do appreciate those going up as always. Yeah, we haven't had the time to talk about it on the stream, but of course, Netanyahu has been in the States this week. I think we'll talk about that, of course, on more streams throughout the week. So hit the notification button to make sure that you don't miss out on any future content. And we will actually see who's live right now. Who's coming live to make you jive. Speaking of raids though, once again, thanks to Helena at No Justice for the raid, and do go and subscribe to that channel at No Justice MTG. Is the handle that you need. All Shorts is live. Let's go to All Shorts. Is that? Yeah, it is live. Sorry, just checking it wasn't a scheduled one. All Shorts is live now. Let's head up. Is Katie Marshall live as well? We did go to Katie last time. I'd like to spread it out a bit. It's locked in now as well. So we will go to All Shorts on this occasion. But yeah, check out Katie Marshall's channel as well. Also, check out, another reminder, check out Andrew Luke's channel. It's great to collab with Andrew Luke recently. Yeah, Katie Marshall as well, up in Scotland, another great channel, who also featured in the same episode as we did, talking about being a YouTuber, politics as well, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm sure everybody will like a bit of All Shots. Still 26 degrees there, Doc. Wow, yeah. We got to about 30 here in Manchester. Earlier today, it's still, yeah. It's bloody muggy outside, isn't it? Okay, that's pretty much it for things here on the stream.
And I'm getting quite near the end now of this analysis.
So once again, I'll thank you for being here this evening. This has been the Brews at 10 on My Left Eye. I've been your humble host, Lefty. You've all been very welcome here. Solidarity. And I'll finish off by saying power to the people. Free Palestine, Lebanon, Sudan and Yemen. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Don't watch the news, be the news. My Left Eye. We'll be seeing you soon. Good night.
It's what Hitler and Goering did, and it is textbook. And if you think the next time it happens, we're gonna recognize it because they're wearing scary uniforms, you're out of your damn mind.